Vice President JD Vance is in Israel today, where he visited a new center for civilian and military cooperation. Vance expressed optimism for where the ceasefire deal brokered by President Trump is right now.
What we've seen the past week gives me great optimism the ceasefire is going to hold. And if we get from where we were a week ago to a long-term, durable peace between Israel and Gaza, there are going to be hills and valleys. There are going to be moments where it looks like things aren't going particularly well. But given that, and given the history of conflict, I think that everybody should be proud of where we are today. It's going to require constant effort. It's going to require constant monitoring and supervision. That's part of the reason that Admiral Cooper and his team is here, is to mediate these disputes, to mediate these disagreements as they come up. But look, right now, I feel very optimistic.
The fake news media has been quick to point out any potential weaknesses in President Trump's peace deal as Hamas is still ratcheting up violence in Gaza. The vice president called out the media for their treatment of the issue.
There is this weird attitude I've sensed in the American media, in the Western media, where there's almost this desire to root for failure, that every time something bad happens, that every time that there's an act of violence, there's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire, this is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end. It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time. We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that.
Mercedes, I would be interested to get your read on this, because I think the vice president is absolutely right. We've seen from the left-wing media that there is almost like a cheering for and waiting for, just sitting on the edge of their seats, waiting for this to fall through.
Right.
And at the same time, I'll be honest, when I saw over the weekend that 2 IDF soldiers were killed by Hamas and Israel responded to that,
right,
I was also like, wait a second, what's going to happen next?
There's no question that there's so many delicate moments right now. Anything could cause a ceasefire to basically fall apart. It is, but yet it's still the toughest negotiation that we have seen thus far, and the most comprehensive negotiations that we've seen thus far, coming from the United States, bringing together these Arab nations, basically telling them, you're going to hold Hamas accountable, you keep them in check, and I'll keep Israel in check. So, look, this is not going to be easy. No one said this was going to be an easy situation, but I will tell you, to see those Israeli hostages being freed and reunited with their families, that alone is one of the biggest victories that I have seen coming from President Trump and his foreign policy team.
Yeah, well, Matt, I mean, that was an image that I really questioned. In covering Israel and covering this issue, I really wasn't sure that we were going to see those last 20 remaining living hostages come home, and yet they did.
Yeah, and people are forgotten October 7th. They make it sound like almost Israel's responsible for the renewed violence, and they're not. The irony is the people in the kibbutzes along the strip were the ones who were the peaceniks. Mm-hmm. They want to have peace with the Palestinians. These are not armed people. They didn't have guns in their homes. They didn't have locks in their safe rooms. They trusted their neighbors in the Gaza Strip, and they had a sad awakening to reality. They got mugged by reality, as William F. Buckley used to say. Yeah. And there's a realization that you can love your Arab brother, but the idea that Hamas is going to run this country in a two-state solution is insane. So it means the two-state solution is essentially done.
Yeah.
It's done until they all get rid of Hamas.
Well said, Matt. Well, the vice president's visit comes on the heels of President Trump's latest warning to Hamas. Posting on Truth Social, the president said numerous of our now great allies in the Middle East and areas surrounding the Middle East have explicitly and strongly, with great enthusiasm, informed me that they would welcome the opportunity at my request to go into Gaza with a heavy force and straighten out Hamas if Hamas continues to act badly in violation of their agreement with us. And the president added that there is still hope they will do the right thing, but if they don't, the end of Hamas will be fast, furious, and brutal. Jason, I want to pull you in here because we've seen the president make multiple of these very clear and very direct statements. And it kind of begs the question at the end of the day, will Hamas do what President Trump is saying is the right thing, which ultimately alludes to them disarming?
Yeah, they haven't agreed to it. And this is the thing about ceasefires. People have to cease firing. And it hasn't happened. We've seen that there's been violence this entire time. On both sides, we've seen, Hamas shooting. We've seen Israeli airstrikes. So I'm not so sure that we can even call this a ceasefire. Now, when we're talking about, and people are calling it a peace deal, and that's way too far, but I'm not even sure it's a ceasefire. Now, in terms of the hostages, that was a beautiful thing. To see them returned. And as far as a two-state solution, I think most of the world, the people who have called for a two-state solution are talking about the PA or Fatah running, the Palestinian state, wherever that would be. And they are the people who run the West Bank. So I think a lot of people have this misunderstanding and think that, all Palestinians are under the thumb of Hamas, and that's actually not true. Hamas did run Gaza, but they did not run the West Bank.
Well, I will say I think one of the tragic things that we've seen since IDF soldiers pulled back out of Gaza is Hamas actually pulling Gazans out into the streets and shooting them publicly, carrying out public executions. So if there's going to be hope for the people of Gaza, there has to be a stable and secure force leading. But reporters say that President Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Hungary is on hold and that no meeting is planned at the moment. But prior to that news, a leftist reporter was very upset when White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt trolled him in responding to his leftist talking points. In a text, SV Date asked Leavitt if the president was aware of why Ukraine would object to him meeting Putin in Budapest and who suggested that location for the meeting. Well, Leavitt simply responded, "Your mom." To which Date asked, "Is this funny to you?" And Leavitt texted him back that she thought it was funny that he considered himself a journalist, adding that he is a far-left hack who nobody takes seriously, writing, "Stop texting me your disingenuous bias and BS questions." Terry, I heard you chuckling over here. Have we ever seen a press secretary like Caroline Leavitt?
No, we haven't, Virginia. And I love that we have a press secretary that doesn't circle back. She claps back, right? This is a legacy media that has been so disingenuous and dishonest. They've been lying to the American people every single day just to get Trump out of office and destroy our country. It's just so nice having someone actually fighting back for us.
Yeah.